All right. Hey, good morning. It's Wednesday, middle of the week. We made it, and so we'll see what the day holds. It was a little cold this morning, and I'm all right with that, as long as I can be inside or sit by a fire or whatever. So, but it wasn't too cold. It was in the 40s. That's not terrible yet. But anyway, looking forward to all that God has for us. I'm drinking out of my Key West cup today, just in honor of all my peeps and everybody down in the Keys that Ian is kind of making some stuff about. So praying for that, praying for everybody in Florida, really, and for all the damage that was done in Cuba, that those people would be favored and blessed and cared for. And life sometimes deals us hard stuff, and it's easy just to ignore it because it's not in our part of the world. But there's some grave stuff going on in our world, and so we should pray and ask the Creator of the universe to meet needs and to be gracious and to be loving. And so that's what we're about. Now, hey, let's jump into some truth today. I'm excited for it. And before I do that, I'm ready for my wife to come home. She was not here yesterday. She's gone to Peachtree City to take care of Courtney, who had some little procedures she was getting done, and so Tam's taking care of all that. And man, left me all by myself. And while I'm grateful for her servant heart, I'm ready to see her. So stay safe out there, and hope to see you soon. Let's jump into some truth. Romans chapter 12. We're going to finish it today, Lord willing. And not that I'm trying to rush through it. That's probably part of the problem. This is some of the most powerful truth that you and I are going to hear. What we're looking at in Romans chapter 12. I was chatting with a guy, TikTok guy that's just kind of tracking like I am in some ways. He's a seminary professor and stuff like that, so well above my pay grade in that sense. But we were chatting just about what is it that the church should do really in order to change the world. Like, what's the purpose of the church? And it is to live out the solution, right? That you and me are to live out who Christ has called us to be. There is no greater practical truth in all of the scriptures other than this section right here. And it deals with it. And so he's saying, listen, after all that God's done for us, what do we do? Well, we present our bodies a living sacrifice, right? I mean, that's it. That's the exchange that should take place. It's reasonable. And that we would avoid everything the world wants to throw at us that is evil and wrong and demonic and earthly and all of those things. We want to be done with all of that stuff, and we want to cling to the good stuff. And so we're not going to think more highly of ourselves than we ought. We're going to think so as to have sound judgment. We're not going to be arrogant about this thing. We're just going to live the Christian life. Right? We are becoming something. We are becoming holy. And the more holy we become, the less of us in us and the more of Him that comes through us, the greater the impact of His glory to this world. The reason why the world doesn't want to turn to our God, for the most part, is because if they look at us, they don't like what they see. And this is the remedy for all of that. And so He says, listen, exercise those spiritual gifts, man. What God has given to you, do it fervently. And let's be diligent to do that. And then he comes into this section, which is where we've been. And I'm just going to read it till we get to where we are and where we haven't looked at yet. But you will remember these. This is the attitude. This is what holiness looks like from the most practical perspective of all. We think holiness tends to be where we get all mystical and we're just caught up in this worship, and all we do is just worship Jesus all day long, through music or whatever. Or our Bible's constantly open and we're always highlighting it, right? Or we're just always praying, carrying our prayer journal around. Those are pieces of it. But that's the preparation. The result of that holiness, the result of that spiritual activity should be that it fleshes itself out in these things that we're talking about here. And so he says, listen, let your love be free of hypocrisy, right? Don't play this game of love. Don't play people. Genuinely love people. Don't love people because you're supposed to. Love them because within your spirit, you genuinely see the imago Dei in everybody that you walk up to. And, and so you are loving toward them. detest what is evil, cling to what is good, right? We're going to be done with the world. We're not going to let it squeeze us into its mold. We're going to detest the evil things, and I don't want anything to do with it, but we're going to cling to what is good. I'm going to be devoted to one another in brotherly love. Man, we're going to keep our love stretched for each other. We're going to keep it hot, and we're going to be devoted to each other. We're not going to quit just because life gets difficult for you or you do things that I don't agree with. We're going to be devoted to one another in this thing, right? I'm not going to let a little thing like you being mad at me or whatever, or me being mad at you or something, petty. We're not allowing that. We're devoted to one another in brotherly love. We're giving preference to one another in honor, right? Listen, and it's easy to love if you always are lifting the other person up. It's when you turn your eyes back toward yourself, which is what sin does to us, right? Forces us to kind of just see ourselves and to take care of ourselves and to protect ourselves and to hurl accusation at you and to hide my flaws, right? That's the whole point of Genesis story, that whole concept of what sin did to us. He says, listen, you're going to give preference to other people. You're gonna lift them up. You're gonna focus on them. Your eyes are gonna be up. And then he says, not lagging behind in diligence. You're gonna get after this. You're not gonna be lazy about this. You're getting after it, right? You and me, we're gonna be love machines. We are going to be people that undeniably the world is gonna go, man, when I think of love, I think of Pardue, right? That is what it should be. Not lagging behind in diligence, fervent in spirit, right? That's that keeping that thing stretched. It's that same term that Peter uses when he says, "Keep your love stretched with one another, that you make, because love covers a multitude of sins," right? And so this is what he's talking about here. Keep that fervent spirit, man. Listen, don't let your love just kind of wane and wax, right? And just kind of up and down and roller coaster type thing. Man, it should be constant and hot always. Always like you're on blaze, right? I mean, you're just on blaze, right? And so then he says, serving the Lord. That's what we're doing. When we are loving people, we are serving the Lord, right? Sheep and the goats. I was hungry, you fed me. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you healed me. I was in prison and you visited me, right? That's the whole point. We love people because it's serving the Lord when we do so. And then he says this, rejoicing in hope, right? I'm going to keep I'm working here. I'm laboring for the master, but my eyes on the fact that, hey, we're heading some other place. We're heading due north. We're heading toward the eternal destiny that God has for us. And I'm going to rejoice in that. I'm not going to let the little things here distract me from the great joy that is to come, right? I'm going to persevere in tribulation. I'm not going to quit on this stuff. I'm going to keep after it. I'm not going to let hard times keep me from my destination. I'm going to plow through. I'm going to pull that old military slogan, improvise and overcome. I'm just going to keep getting after it, right? I'm going to be devoted to prayer because I know that's the nerves that move the muscles of an omnipotent God. And so I'm going to be devoted to prayer. I'm going to believe that God will intercede for me. He will give himself glory as he meets the needs that I cry out to for the world, and that we'll see the fruit of that. I'm going to be devoted to prayer. I'm going to contribute to the needs of the saints. I'm not just going to be selfish and hoard my money. I want people to know, man, I've got good seed here. I've got cash that I can distribute. May not be a lot, may not meet all your needs, but I can help. I can do my part. I'm going to contribute to the needs of the saints. I'm going to practice hospitality, man. I'm going to love the strangers. I don't have to know you to love you and invite you into my world. I don't have to test the waters first, man. If you're a believer, I'm going to love you. I'm going to bring you in. I have a love for strangers, right? Then he says, hey, I'm going to bless those who persecute you, right? Listen, I'm going to ask God. I'm not going to ask God to just destroy you. I'm going to bless you. I'm going to want good in your life. I'm not going to curse you. I'm not going to hope that bad things happen to you. I'm going to rejoice when good stuff happens in your world, and I'm not going to be jealous of the fact that good things happen into your world. I'm going to weep with you when you weep. I'm not going to go, well, man, you should have made a better decision. Sorry for the pain. No, I'm going to weep with you. I'm going to be of the same mind toward one another, right? I'm gonna keep this constant love thing happening. And then I'm not going to be haughty in mind. I'm not going to think that I'm somehow better than everybody else. I'm not going to be arrogant in my Christian life. I'm going to be humble in my Christian life. I'm going to associate with the lowly, right? I'm gonna see everybody as my station of life, right? Regard others. So now we're into this area where we didn't get to yesterday, right? Regard all with the same level of dignity, right? And this is what it means to be of the same mind toward one another. I'm going to treat everybody equal. I'm not going to go, well, man, they don't have the education I have, or they don't have the means, the money that I have, or they don't have. No. I'm going to treat the doorman, so to speak. Not that they're that many anymore, but I'm going to treat the doorman just like I treat the owner of the hotel. Right? It doesn't matter to me which. I'm going to love those people. Right? And this separates us from everybody else. I'm not looking to leverage my love here. I simply want to see people and go, you deserve love. You deserve love. Doesn't matter what you're doing to me. Doesn't matter what you're doing to others. You deserve love. This is what he says, right? Regard all with the same level of dignity. And Jesus said the same thing. And so it's important that we see that. Don't think you're above learning from others. Right? Hey, don't be haughty in mind there. That has this idea of kind of elevating yourself, right? Don't think that you're above learning from others. I know you somebody that's uneducated. You go, man, what could they teach me? Oh, a whole lot. A whole lot. Those who have struggled in life have learned much in life. Some of us have had it too easy and we didn't learn much, right? And so the whole thing here is, listen, don't think that you're God's gift to people. Don't think that you know more than everybody else in the room. That's a terrible place to be, right? And then he comes to verse 17, and he says, never repay evil for evil to anyone, right? What's he saying there? Don't respond in kind when it comes to evil. Listen, every time you respond, somebody hits you, you hit back. Somebody slams you, you slam them. Somebody gives you a cutting remark, you sarcastically cut them back. Listen, I know I'm experienced I'm the sultan of sarcasm. But there's no place here in the kingdom of God. We have to lay that aside. I'm not going to let you decide what comes out of my mouth, right? I'm not going to let you say something evil and therefore just respond and allow you to have had the privilege of causing me to say things that I ought not say to you in an evil fashion, right? So this is what it is. It goes back to that whole thing. We have the Holy Spirit in us. He is the thermostat. I am a thermostat, not a thermometer. I don't just, if the room's hot, I get hot. If the room's mean, I get mean. No, I set the temperature. I decide I'm going to de-escalate things, right? And you see that in Jesus' life. Everywhere he went, he just de-escalated issues. He didn't heighten now they chose anger, but that was on them. He didn't do that, right? And so not even before the court, not before the soldiers, not before anybody did he do that. This is the renewed mindset. This is why this is so hard, because we keep feeding our mind with everything the world says about you got to get after it. If you don't take care of yourself, nobody else will. And you got to have boundaries, and you got to do all of these things. You got to take care of yourself first. Self-love is important. All that stuff. That's what's destroying the reputation of the church. Reputation of the church has to be less of that. It's a renewed mind. You and me we don't belong here. This is not our home. I'm not going to take my cue. Listen, at one time I was just like them, right? But we've been washed. We've been regenerated. And we've been renewed. That's not us anymore. We have come out from among that in order to be changed by God, so that as we go back into that world, we're not of it, we're simply in it, and we're impacting it. This is what God's called us to. Providing a right response is what else he says. Look at what he says. Respect what is right in the sight of all people. That word respecting what is right literally is the word that tells us we are to provide that, right? We are to provide a right response. We are to be showing people what a right response looks like. Respect what is right in the sight of all people. That means I'm going to do the right thing. It doesn't matter what anybody else does. I'm going to do the right thing. And the right thing is that I would love the Lord my God with all my heart, my soul, my mind, and my strength, and love my neighbor as myself. Micah would have said it this way: what does the Lord require of thee but to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly? That's what's right. To do the right thing, the just thing, to be merciful in doing the right thing, and do it in an air of humility. Not like, hey, you should be blessed that I'm even humbling my. No, it's not that, right? And so we are going to respect what is right in the sight of all people. I'm not going to treat you differently than I treat you. Not going to do it. And then he says this: if possible, so far as it depends on you, be at peace with all people. What's he saying here? Man, work hard at keeping peace with people, at least when it comes to you, right? The old adage, it takes two to fight, takes two to tango, takes two to fight, right? So don't engage in the fight. Be at peace with all people. When you see somebody's temperature getting hot, don't fan that thing into flame. Calm the situation, right? Now, we don't compromise our convictions in this. We don't decide to pick up falsehood. We don't decide to tolerate sin. We just simply are going to be at peace with all men so far as it depends on us, right? I can't control what you do, but I can control how I respond to what you do. And this is what he's saying here. This is what it looks like. And so, and then we come to 19, verse 19. Never take your own revenge, beloved, but leave room for the wrath of God. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay. Man, don't start looking to make sure that people get what they deserve. You know how we do that? Mostly gossip, right? I don't like what they did. I'm mad at them. They're not listening to me, or I can't change them, and I can't control them, and that's our problem. That's a lack of humility when we try to control people. I can't control anybody. I can barely control myself. So why am I trying to control others? But what we do is when they don't do what we want them to do, and then we're going to go make sure everybody understands they didn't do what they ought to do. And so I'm gonna try and bribe the jury, so to speak, so everybody yells at this person and everybody agrees with me about that person. And that's what he's saying. Listen, quit trying to extract revenge on those people. This is God's business. God's going to deal with people. That's not, oh, well, karma's going to hit. No, stop with the karma also. It's not karma. We're not wishing that on anybody. We are simply going to love people. And we're going to take the temperature of the room down because we set the thing. And we're not going to seek for revenge. We're just not going to do it. He says then, in contrast to that, right? One, let the Lord do that. He's responsible for the payback, not me. Not me. I'm going to forgive. I'm going to move on, and the Lord will do what he's going to do in that life. That's on him, not me. And then he says this, but if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him a drink, for in so doing you will heap burning coals on his head. That's a role of shame, he's saying, is going to take place. Listen, you just love your enemies. You do exactly what Jesus says to do, right? With the stranger, right? I was naked and you clothed me. I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink, right? This is the concept. What are we doing constantly? Man, we're just being the hands and feet of Jesus. I'm letting him do the other stuff. My job is to just serve people. His job is to judge people. And so this is what we do. This is who we should be as believers in Christ, right? Man, this is crazy good stuff. He says, he says, you do that stuff, and what's going to happen? They're going to feel the shame. That burning coal on their head, they're going to feel that. It's going to be hot. They're going to feel, their face is going to flush, right? Out of embarrassment, out of shame. Once they're trying to laugh, just go off on you, and you just respond in kind. There's something that flusters people. And all of a sudden there's this, what we would call embarrassment, but it's not embarrassment, it's shame, right? That's on them. We're not trying to create shame, but when they see a contrast of how a loving, godly person responds, it opens their eyes to their own depravity. This is what it does. This is man, I mean, you once you see this, you can't unsee this. This is the most remarkable way to live a life that you could ever live. And then he says this in 21: don't be overcome by evil, but be overcome by good. Right? What's he saying there? Hey, man, listen. The world is you're gonna see evil everywhere you turn. Don't let it get to you. Don't. Just keep overcoming the evil by doing what? By being holy. You're going to overcome it. Just keep doing that, right? Man, I wish we had more time to talk about these things, but this is so rich. It is propelling me to want to be a better man, and I hope it's doing the same to you. Lord bless you. Have a great day, and man, I can't wait to see you in the morning. We flip the page to chapter 13.